By the way, our Facebook Live session this past Wednesday took a different look at the census, including why it's going to be hard for government to fill its census taker jobs. You can find that conversation on New Mexico in Focus Facebook page. All right, the relationship of our government with citizens can be complex. That's demonstrated not just by the census, but by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's decision this week to sue the federal government over costs and impacts to New Mexico from the Trump administration's immigration policies. And Martha, both the state of New Mexico and the city of Albuquerque have joined in the suit, aiming to stop border agents from releasing migrants into New Mexico communities without help. San Diego County and California did this, but we're the first state to do this. Interesting precedent there. I got two questions here for the entire table. The legal possibilities, but also the political possibilities. Those are two very different things. You take either one of those if you'd like to.
I'll put out a question about the legal and let someone else answer it. My first
Sure.
reaction was, I applaud the governor for doing this. I applaud the city of Albuquerque for joining. They probably have more resources than Las Cruces and some of the border cities, so that will help. But then my other question was, lawsuits are great. How long is it going to take this thing to get adjudicated? It could be years. So that's one thing, and some of the other panelists probably know more about that than
Pick up
I
on that,
do.
Tom. That's an interesting point there. These things don't just get solved in 30 days. That's for dang sure.
Oh yeah, this is at least according to the election cycle, good for another 2.5 years.
Yeah,
you know, I
exactly.
mean,
That's the political
yeah,
end.
it's the
That's-
political
Right,
end
right.
of things. But no, I mean, you have somebody, state of New Mexico suing the federal government. Just look at the water law and just the water the water litigation that's been taking place. It is decades and stuff. I think it's a good move. The governor, definitely wants to exact its pound of flesh from the U.S. government for, basically putting all the asylum seekers in areas that can't afford to help them.
Right. Interesting point. And Ed, the governor was just, when I say just, a few weeks ago, meeting with, folks in Washington about this very thing. I got to think at that point, she said, you know what, how this is going to go, either I get some relief here, or I'm going to have to take it to the next step and do a suit. I can't imagine this is brand new to the federal government after she was just there a couple of weeks ago talking to these very people. She's suing now, so.
Well, she's taking a very good first step. What the courts will look at first, once they receive a lawsuit, have all administrative attempts been dealt with? I mean, there are a number of layers that you need to go through before you get to the level of a lawsuit. And often judges will look at that and they'll ask, what have you done?
Right.
And with the governor going to Washington, maybe she's taken some initial steps, because there should be some negotiation with the federal government. And if negotiations don't prove or don't resolve the matter, then you eventually work your way up to lawsuit. But depending on what's happened up to this point, the state might be getting a little ahead of themselves. But because of the length of time that these lawsuits take, maybe it's better at least to have this in the pipeline while they work on some of the possible remedies. But the federal government clearly has taken a position. Immigration is delegated to the federal government, and the federal government has abdicated that responsibility and placed it back on the states. So the state now is reacting and saying, this was your issue to deal with.
Right.
You're putting it on our plate. So now they're pushing back.
You set up my question, Andy, brilliantly. And basically, simply, Andy, the suit revolves around what's called the Safe Release Program, the Fed's own idea that we have a responsibility to provide assistance to asylum seekers. However, that rule was changed in October of 2018, and the governor says it was unlawfully abandoned. And so that's an interesting angle here. What's your gut sense of that?
I think, to go off of what Ed was saying, and I think this is kind of what he's getting at, is that, or part of what he's getting at is a lot of this is procedural. I think I don't know what could be done other than filing a lawsuit, but I think this is the way to get the federal government's attention, especially for a governor who does not have the ear of the White House at this point.
Right.
To say, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of political reasons to do this, but I think it's also kind of like we're stuck here. How do we get past this? How do we get more money? How do we not become overwhelmed by the amount of people coming into the state? So.
Good point there. And Tom, when you think about it, the state has already committed $750,000 to other communities and counties who are struggling with this. I'm curious how much the governor, we've not heard what she asked for with that meeting with McLeenan a couple of weeks ago. What should she be asking for? Because those costs don't include, if I'm following correctly, the staff time for state people. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of other costs in there that's not accounted for in that 750.
Yeah, I mean, if we're playing, Price is Right, I would say $10 million. That would be a starting point, and then work your way up from there. Because you have City of Albuquerque is pitching $75,000. Just in Albuquerque, $750,000 for the state. To say anybody who thinks that $750,000 is going to fix this issue is living on another planet, because these are like big dollar issues, serious issues, and so I think the starting point is $10 million.
Wow, I saw you agree with that number.
Well,
yeah.
I do agree
Yeah.
with it because, right, I mean, it's hordes of people because of some of the Trump administration policies that have upped the humanitarian crisis. But back to the political, I think it's interesting that, okay, we have San Diego and we have the state of New Mexico. There are several more border states that could get in on this. That might increase the pressure on the administration if they would follow suit. New Mexico has taken the lead, possibly. Hell might freeze over and Texas might do it, but certainly Arizona. And so I could see a political upside, even if it's going to take a while to resolve.
Let's flip that though. If New Mexico ends up going it alone, what does that mean? Do you put the chances of getting any money out of the federal government at 1%,
Well,
2%, 0%?
I don't know. Well,
Okay.
probably not through this lawsuit, or certainly
Yeah.
not in time to do anything about it. But I believe our delegation has also asked the appropriations folks that are crafting the bills right now to put money in for New Mexico for relief on some of this.
Right. Interesting. Ed, I'm curious again, from your law enforcement point of view, your background in these kind of things. Money doesn't solve everything, but it does help in these kind of things. And you got to assume this situation is going to go on right into Election Day next coming, right?
That's right.
So the number is going to be huge for the state. It could exponentially grow over time when you really think about it. You said a second ago they might be getting a little in front of the curve here. Do you feel that? I mean, on the money part, shouldn't she be getting in front of it as she's doing now?
Right. I think it's the right approach.
Okay.
And I think, again, procedurally, it's the right approach. The courts are going to ask for some other things. But, as we've discussed here, this is indefinite. I mean, these numbers are going to keep growing and growing and
That's
growing.
right.
And the concern is, because from the public safety perspective, is what kind of impact is this going to have on communities? Most of these people are here. They've met the facial requirements to seek asylum. But you're forcing them into these communities, and who knows what the outcome is? There could be public health issues, and you get a lot of people in the community. You may have a high-profile incident involving an asylum seeker, and then that totally twists the issue, right? and that's the danger. Again,
Yeah.
I believe most of these asylum seekers are well-meaning, but you may be forcing them into a situation to fail in some ways by not providing the support that we're required to do so.
That's a very good point, as a matter of fact. There, Andy, on the local politics of this, the state government can only write checks for so long. That's my other thought here too. It's at $750 now. At some point, there are going to be voices saying, "You know what, guys, enough is enough." Do you know what I mean? I could see certain parts of our not delegation, but our legislature, saying, okay, where does it stop? So that obvious question, where does it stop, is a difficult one. I don't know how she threads that needle over a certain period of time.
Yeah, at some point, I agree. At some point, she's going to hear from lawmakers who represent the southern districts and say, there's people coming across the border. They're representing their constituents, but also the people in those areas. The lawmakers tend to be a little bit more fiscally conservative, let's say, and they're going to start saying, what our budget that's going to get into the oil and gas money and just the state budget issue of how much money should we be spending on this issue when we can't control it that much as a state.
Well, and that could be the state's downfall too, is these huge surpluses because the oil and gas industry, the federal government says, what do you mean? You've got $1 billion more to spend, you want $10 million from us? That could come back to haunt us.
I hadn't thought about that either, yeah.
But, price of oil takes a dip, all of a sudden New Mexico's case has a lot more standing.
Right, exactly. What's the governor's best move from here? What do you think? It's laid down, the suit's there. Everything's going to kind of stop there. Is there something else she could be doing right now in your view?
I don't think there's a whole
Okay.
lot, Gene, except the PR aspect of it. And I think selling New Mexicans on what is right and what we can do is going to be a very important thing for the governor and for our legislators, because there will be arguments about where's the money going to come from, why do we have to pay and not them, and so forth. And so I think managing the PR of it is really something that needs to be done, and it's one of the few avenues that can be pursued right
Good point
now.
there, exactly. Now, when we come back, we're going to take on some of the issues surrounding water, some of it dubious, coming out of sinks and faucets of some Albuquerque elementary schools.